Okay.
Welcome to The Edge with Puni, where we reimagine a new reality through transdisciplinary education. Hello, everybody. My name is Puni Woodley. I've been in education for the last 30 odd years, and I've traveled the world. I've taught in many different kind of contexts, as well as diverse students and communities. And I believe after I've accumulated all this experience, I'd like to bring people together who are operating on the fringes of policy, as well as bringing in innovative educational practices to the foreground. Because I do believe the edge is where innovation happens. So today we are going to welcome Debbie DeLisle from North Carolina. Um, and she's my first guest on this show, on this podcast. And we're going to explore why Debbie believes that she operates on the edge um, as a professional educator herself. So welcome, Debbie, to the edge.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here on the edge with you.
Yeah, so Debbie and I, you and I go back, what, 3 or 4 years now, where we've been collaborating around integrated education. And with your rich background, I believe that I'd like you to share this with our listeners out there and see, how we can share and even change the way we perceive education.
Mm,
Yes,
that's
so let's kick the show off uh, with the first question. So, how did you arrive at this point in your life, Debbie? And how has it shaped you in what you do, personally, professionally, culturally, in any way?
mm. I guess without going totally deep into my whole life story, I know that I am here because my upbringing was very non-traditional. I come from a definitely an alternative version of childhood, and thanks to my parents and my grandparents. And I think it instilled in me this willingness, for sure, to do things differently than what is expected, and to continually seek new ways to look at things and to turn things. And I just have a deep interest in puzzling and problem solving. And boy, I think we've got plenty of puzzles to solve. It's been my greatest joy to dive in deep and start unraveling things. I think I'm really good at making a big mess and then cleaning it up. um, and and finding ways to grow from that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
So, I believe you were born in Michigan, and now you find yourself in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina. How did that come about?
yeah, that is a fun journey. Yeah, I grew up in Michigan, just south of Detroit, in a city called Wyandotte, and my, like I say, my parents really set me up for this alternative path, because, and I'll say my grandparents too. My grandfather was just this charismatic guy who back in the late 70s, early 80s, got involved in the Jesus movement, and got really energetic about bringing life and energy into the church. So we had a local neighborhood Catholic church, St. Elizabeth, and he got involved there with his amazing energy, and it turned into this charismatic Catholic church, which was so different from all the other Catholic churches on every other block in this town. And just, he built something that people just were drawn to and came to. And this was, I was a baby into my, toddlerhood and then early childhood. and going to school, elementary. And this was my growing up. He even started a school that came out of that, and I got to go to for 3 years. And they had started a theater group and a music ministry, and it got very, very exciting. And to add to the excitement of it all, this church had a convent that was next door to it that was no longer occupied by nuns. And so my parents took that project on, and we all moved into this convent, and we had all these extra rooms. So we opened it up to people who wanted to be part of that community, and be closer to it and be involved in it. They could come and live there. And I grew up amongst young adults that were super excited about Jesus and music and being, connected to something higher and greater than them. And I think that was just the beginning. Like, that was the start of it all. So my grandfather's enthusiasm runs through me clearly, and my grandmother's kind heart. So open and authentic and genuine. That one, is mixing around in me as well. Anyways, starting off there, it definitely had given me the great ideas to just, continue forward. And oh goodness. Okay, let's get back to how did I get to hot springs? That's what you asked me. Having this good time in my childhood, which was fantastic. But yeah, when I grew up, and then I became a single mama, and I started getting hit with some reality. I was working for Ford Motor Company, as people do in Michigan, but I had this very artistic, creative heart, and I wanted more, wanted to do more, and actually just went on a whitewater rafting trip with some friends from work, and it took me down to the Nolichucky River in Tennessee, and just changed my view on where I could be and what I could do. I was enthralled, and I went home and sold everything I had, and me and my little son, my 3-year-old, moved to North Carolina to get a new life. And I can say I put it out there to the universe as a young child. I wanted to have an extraordinary life, and I think that was the seeds that were planted then. So found myself a single mother in Hot Springs, North Carolina, going from making like $60,000 a year to making like $2,000 a year. And had a huge problem to solve. And money, finding the right support systems for my child, and living in a whole new culture. Living in the South is very different from living in the North. And I just dove in, and then started trying to unravel this thing, and learned that there was great needs. There's great needs for education, support in this little town, and also mama support, like trying to figure out how to go ahead and work and get my bills paid. But I also had a little guy who needed to go to school, and needed to have at the beginning have daycare, So in the town that I moved to, the only option was Head Start, but you had to make $0. You couldn't make any money if you wanted to go to Head Start. So I had to do all kinds of things to hide my little jobs, of cleaning and paper girl and all that stuff, just so that I could actually have money coming in, but my son could be taken care of during the day while I did that. So that was the first clue. We need childcare that is subsidized and is affordable and awesome. So found myself in Hot Springs creating a school. Like what we came up with is just a group of us, like myself, got together and listed out all the things that we needed and all the things that we had access to. And we ended up designing out this community learning center right in the middle of Little Hot Springs. And and it turned into, it was preschool, after school, summer camp. So we weren't at that point competing with the public school system. We were just supporting it, and we worked alongside it. And there we go. That was our alternative option for people, and people were drawn to it. It was nature-based and just full of life and energy, and people came. and they loved it, and they wanted us to continue. And my kids grew. I had my second child. Met my husband, got my second child, and it just grew from there. People were like, we need more of this. The outcomes that we started getting because of this, nature in integration and this movement piece, it really started to change the way that people were experiencing their lives.
So I see that pioneering spirit of your ancestors have been instilled in you, wanting to try new things, go to new places, starting afresh.
Yeah.
I think that is something that innovators do. They're not afraid to take a risk and go into the unknown,
Yeah.
but make a difference not only to your life, but to those around you. So I
Yes.
can see you've already kind of, in a way, answered my next question. But why would you consider yourself being on the edge of your profession and your practice?
Well, I would say because the style of education, we've learned so many things. I'm gonna start that over again. I had the option when I was going back to school, when we were running the learning center in Hot Springs. I was going to school for early childhood, and it was a very progressive program for sure. And I know, uh, I know that what we've learned over all of these years and all this data and all this research, we know we can do it differently. We know we could do it better. And I had the option to either jump into public school and just fight alongside my comrades to try and be on the front lines and try to do better within a little small classroom, or take an opportunity to build our own thing that was based on research and experience and what we know is going to work. And the energy, like I said, was so high for that experience with the learning center that we said I'm gonna go that way. And we built a kindergarten through 8th grade program, incorporating all of the awesome things as far as nature based. Like we put it on a farm. Like we went ahead and got property that's on 30 acres, and it's got an old tobacco farm that we were able to turn into flourishing gardens even after all that toxicity from being a tobacco farm. We were able to turn that around, and we practice regenerative agriculture practices, and we teach that. The kids see it firsthand. They get right in there with their own hands, which we know also is very effective as hands-on learning. We're outside 3/4 of the day. That's very on the edge because, it is more common practice to keep them contained inside. You can get more of their attention, but we are not afraid to bring them outside and let them get a little distracted by nature, and then hone them back in, and we do that all day, going from big focus to down to smaller detailed focus, so that is on the edge for sure.
Mm.
um, yeah, and just given that we're right in the middle of a very poor area, we're in the Appalachian Mountains, and there is no other alternative school in our area. You got the public school, or now you got us, as an option. And so it is a nonprofit that's edgy, and it is accessible, and we have people that work there that are drawn to 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 the real design work and the real joy piece of being a teacher, which is not common right now. People are leaving that profession in droves because it has become so unproductive and boring and not fun. And so yeah, I'm finding that we would be somewhere that if somebody still has a teacher in their heart and they want to connect with children and they want to actually see that light that goes off, because they're connecting something, because our students actually love being there, they want to be there, then it's a good place. It's an edgy place to be. So
Great.
yeah.
And I think now we can reveal to our listeners where you your organization's name, as well as what your vision is for your organization.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Well, it's Woodson Branch Nature School. It's kind of fun because Woodson is spelled woods, Woods, and then on. Woods on Branch Nature School. I laugh about that because we have forest time every day and it's like the woods on, let's get out there. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's in Hot Springs, between Hot Springs and Marshall, North Carolina, mountains, and the old yes, in on a beautiful 30-acre farm right on the branch of Woodson, and it flows into the Laurel River, which flows into the French Broad River. So we get to see and experience a lot of nature all the time.
Well,
The
I
big
think, yes. So I'm sorry. I think that we were meant to meet because I did row down the New River and the
oh,
Broad River, the French Broad River. Those scenes just are still etched in my mind.
it's
Really
unforgettable. Mhm.
unforgettable. And you know what the strangest thing is? You are on the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains. I'm on the eastern side of the Drakensberg Mountains. Those are the two big mountains that kind of, extend across so many of your states and so many of our provinces that, so, uh, no, that's brilliant. So,
Mhm.
um, how do you innovate education? uh, Making you stand out from the crowd. So basically, how do you innovate education by standing out from the rest of the crowd? What is so special about Woodson Branch that parents want to bring their children there?
Well, I would say number one is, if you want your kid to wake you up in the morning and say, "Let's get to school," that's something that happens. Like you want to know if you're a parent, you want to know that your kid likes where they're going
Mhm.
and is excited to be there, knows that they are expected there, and so that definitely makes it stand out a little bit because generally that's not the overall feeling from kiddos about school and getting up and going. Not to say that's for every kid and that everybody hates school. That's not it. But generally we have very high I want to be here rates, and so and of course when you're answering the call for what kids need and it's designed for them, for their brain development, and that they are there in movement, which kids have to do. They got to move. They're surrounded by healthy foods. They are building and making and creating. They're getting feedback. They're learning how to navigate their problems. They're not just stuck spinning every time that they're having a bad feeling, and they're not told to just go and figure it out. There's guidance. We help them puzzle all the problems that kids and have, and we expect them. They are not shamed for it. We provide that balance of social, emotional, and then our academics are just stellar because first of all, I got this low class sizes. I've got 12 to 16 kids in a class with two teachers, two partner teachers, not like just assistants and leads. Two really smart, energetic, awesome people thinking about each and every one of those 12 to 16 kids, and having a relationship with the parents that is, it's not just a drop off and say you bye. It's we are connected, we are partners with these parents in all things that have to do with the growth of their kiddo, and
Mhm.
yeah, so that's different. Another thing that's a little different and stands out too is we actually don't have our food program yet. Like we're growing the food, and we are using our food that we're growing to give to. We give a portion of it to the Beacon of Hope, which is our local food pantry, but we also use the other portions to teach them how to cook and do projects and make value-added products and stuff, so they learn how to take things from the gardens and use them for their life. we do special things from time to time, though, because we built ourselves, since we don't have a commercial kitchen, we built ourselves an outdoor kitchen, which was designed by our middle school students. And so we just have a do-it-yourself style sink and a grill. We got 4 pizza ovens, and then we made like countertops, and we've got like a dinner table and a project table in there, and fire. It's all fire pizza, so we got all this firewood, so you can chop wood there. So we're always improving and building and trying to upgrade that outdoor kitchen to being a spot that we can get it to where we're serving our own lunches every day. That's the goal. We're starting with 1 day a week, and then hopefully it'll be 2. But that's the thing about us. We are continually growing and improving. We're not done yet. We're 0% done yet. We have plenty that we are always revamping and redesigning. So it's a live place. It's alive and full of life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which could
So,
be different.
yes. So what I hear from you is that it's a dynamic model, first of all. It's holistic because you're looking at different aspects of a child. You're integrating different concepts as well. Uh, your relationship that you have with your parents is one of partnership,
Yes.
right? So they are a very important element of an educational institution. But not only that, I think that's why you and I relate so well, and we have similar philosophies, is we put children in the front and center of education, at the heart of education, and it's what they need, not
Yes.
what you need or what I need as an educator or a parent or whatever, but it's their need, and they are in there getting their hands dirty. You do follow this North Carolina standard course of study,
Oh, yes.
so it's not that you are doing your own thing. You do have guidelines and you do follow the curriculum, but you have more freedom in the way you implement and apply this concept. So that comes into my next question.
Mm.
So I think, or yet again, you've partially answered it. How do you ensure this balance and equilibrium within your school community, within individuals, and within your community in general? Because I do believe that you have you are immerse yourself in the community, which
Mm.
aligns to the philosophy of the edge of transdisciplinary education, where eventually education will be solving community problems and challenges directly. That's the whole thing about transdisciplinary. So how do you ensure that this equilibrium and balance is within even you as an individual, as your school community, as well as the community in general? How do you
Mm.
ensure that?
Yeah, that is an ongoing, you know, seeking. But we teach the mindfulness practices that you hear so much about, and we just bring it into right from the beginning of the day. Drop off for the students is between 8 and 8:30, but come 8:30, everybody, all students in their spaces wherever they are, there's all these circles going on, but we're circling up, and we start our centering, which is very simple. It's it's short, to the point, but it is just a few deep breaths, a little quiet, and we start with that, just to clear our mind, get our head nice and stable, get our heart aligned. And that is a practice that they get from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, every single day. That's the beginning of your day, and then it will go into their morning meeting and stuff, and we'll get all of the brain open and ready to go. But we end the day with reflections. So there'll be an opportunity before their parents pick them up that we come back to that circle, and we go ahead and sum it up and review a little bit and put another layer of memory in there of what we did together today. And it's accepted that we have the good things and the hard things, so that it's not just all about only the good things that happened, but what was hard? What did we do? How did we persevere? So we have that piece that we close it up with. And then what's kind of awesome too is all embedded through the whole day. They are moving. They're going to a different class. Their focus only needs to be for, say, 45 minutes to an hour, tops, because that's depends on their age group. But then they would be shifting and moving to another class or another group, and then that would start over again. They'll center again before they get started on the next thing. Just a shift. Hey, we're going from numbers to letters now. Everybody, tap your brain, and we take that time. And what's cool is if we get it all together right and we do our lesson plans as is, we'll do a reflection at the end of every lesson as well. So you're always kind of tying it back up. You're circling it back around. And so that gets that stable piece in the student and the teacher. Teachers totally benefit from that as well. But what's also so cool is that you can see this happening if you're out in the woods and and you're observing some kind of a frustration moment or something that's happening for a student. It's so interesting how the kids around them will maybe pipe in and go, hey, why don't you try a belly breath? Yeah. The language that they pick up about it, the practice that they pick up, they remind each other, they help each other. And it's part of just like, hey, we could try this, because everybody gets frustrated, and we go through stuff. So if we got the kids, learning that balance piece, and then that transfers out into the rest of the organization. It's in a same kind of format. We get walloped by some kind of piece of information out there that we don't like, or a funding problem or whatever, it is that we have to take a deep breath and we need to find the center of it all. Why are we doing this? Get our head in the game, and then go, from there, from that place. Yeah, so I feel like that has been essential in us being able to find a nice balance with this program, which led us all the way to going from, teaching children and providing a really great place to work if you're a teacher, but for our parents, this like supportive place to be a parent and to get encouragement and just resources and help from each other as a community. We've also started offering adult classes so parents can go to Woodson Branch too. So we can get in the adults from the community and bring that in. So that's been really a wonderful balancer for everything, because yeah, I had parents that were a little sad and jealous when they dropped their kids off. And I promised them one day we are going to have school for you too. And so we did get that going, and it's just been wonderful. They're so happy too.
So I hear two things that are signs of a happy child. First of all, getting up enthusiastically in the morning. Not, when a child doesn't want to get up in the morning, that's a sign that there's something not, it's out of sync there, right? Secondly, when their siblings don't want to leave your campus and the parents don't want to leave your campus, then you know that that you have got a haven of where children feel a sense of belonging and they want to be there. And that for me is what all education institutions should be gearing towards and planning, because this whole thing about power and control and the red tape and days of grading and and planning. Educators spend more time doing everything else besides the actual, the core of their passion and what they want to share with the children. And as a result, like you said earlier, educators are leaving the profession and droves.
Yes. And they're
So
good
maybe,
people, good
yes.
teachers, I just can't help it. I have to say, when you say, we spend so much of the time just planning and planning and planning. And I will say that, yeah, that has gotten to a place where it's been a turnoff for teachers. Why do we have to keep on writing all these things out? But if the planning sessions themselves are joyful and brainstorm style, then it's not not fun. It's actually quite wonderful. And that is a part that I really enjoy with our teachers, and the ability that they have to collaborate with each other, because teachers love talking to other teachers about the cool things ideas that they have, and they love to be able to support each other on ideas and feedback and all that stuff, when they're given the space to do that. And so it doesn't have to be this boring, horrible thing. And then that makes even tracking the data that we get, that's fun too, because we're actually getting really great results. And when you're tracking results that are like, it gives you, such hope when you're like, oh, they look at how well they're doing on these assessments and such, that is uplifting. And it makes you want to just keep on going and doing more of that, so.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And you plan as a team. So every teacher knows what the other teacher is doing. And
Mhm.
that for me, I think is a powerful thing in itself, because being an educator can be a very lonely thing. Suddenly you are in a classroom with however many minds, and they are depending on you, and you are like this godlike figure that has to kind of offer things, and and it can be a very scary, lonely place, because you feel like you're not getting the support. But if you do the planning together, even do the marking or the grading, for
Mhm.
me grading is is a pet peeve,
Mhm.
because I'll tell you why. It's that mechanical marking, right? What I like to do is the analyzing. And with AI and so many different options out there, you can do assessments in so many different ways where,
Mhm.
you can bring that self-reflective practice into students, where they are able to assess themselves and say, hey, I know this because I'm sure you know of Salman Khan, right? The Khan Academy.
Absolutely.
And yes, and he always reiterates, it's about mastery. It's not
Yeah.
about grades,
Yeah.
right? You can give a child whatever grade you want, but as that child or that person mastered that skill. So I think there's a big shift between, and and we were talking about equilibrium and imbalance, right? I think at
Mhm.
the moment the imbalance is happening because people are screaming out for something different.
Yes.
Governments don't know how to provide that. Institutions don't know how to provide it.
Mhm.
But if we look at things in a completely different way, where we come back to that sense of community, that we're all in this together. It's not just one educator trying to, make a difference. It's everybody together. And you know that when you think you're failing, there's someone catching your back. Someone's got your back.
Yeah.
Someone catches, you know what I mean? And
Oh,
the
yes.
children are the children can see a happy teacher, and a
Oh.
teacher can see a happy child.
Mhm.
So what I like about your model is it's a very dynamic model, and you're stepping really out of a lot of people's comfort zones, and you are trying, and you don't give up, and that is a big thing.
I have to say, I kind of forgot that other really main point when you said what makes us edgy. And now that we're talking about assessments, our whole assessment system is so alternative. And it
Hmm.
is that what we're looking for, like you were saying about Khan, it's about the mastery. For us, it's on, are they able to do it independently on their own? So when we're looking at actually taking these snapshots of where they're at, and that's all I see them as, is this is just where they are right at the moment. That's not where they're staying. But if we're going to take a snapshot, what level of support do they need with this concept right now? That's the only thing that matters, when you're looking at just, can they do multiplication? And they're either, you know, meeting standards, they're right where they're supposed to be, or they're still emerging, so they need some level of support on it, or they need a lot of support, like a lot. And so these are the strategies that we have, that they're are in place while we get them to an emerging state and then to a meeting standard state. And then we also have the indicator of like they got this. They don't need any support. We give them a direction in a some instructions, and then they got this. So that's the way that we indicate it when we're doing our snapshots, which we call a whole child report, not a report card, whole child report. And that would be we measure that for all of the things, whether it's their perseverance, their self-confidence, all the way down to every last little academic, detail. And so what's neat is the way that we collect that data and we set up their assessments is based on, sometimes it's on paper and you're writing an answer, or you're choosing out of various choices what's the best thing. That's very rare that we do that. But there's also, can you build it? Can you talk about it? Can you tell it to somebody else? Can you show me an example of that in the woods? Can you show me an example of that in the classroom or in this space? And so that kind of data is super fun to collect and super fun to analyze. Like you say, when we're sitting there looking at that kind of thing, we find ourselves identifying absolute brilliance in a spot that they would not have gotten known for. They wouldn't have been recognized for. For example, I've got a student that not high performing on like the written math tests, the stuff where you've got to come up with it quickly, not super fast on it. Now they get the concept, but they can't do 25 problems. They could do a few of them and get them right. And that's great, but that makes it to where, okay, we've indicated that in them. But given the task of we're going to create, everybody's tasked with creating a game where they need to come up with the absolute, all the rules, the concept, the design, all of the pieces and the cards, whatever comes with it. This particular student turned out the most amazing, brilliant game, with the neatest pieces, very precise, excellent cards, really good language on it. Look at that brilliance that's in there that may have been missed if we just stopped at whatever this speed test would have been, and just said, oh, category, not too fast, whatever. And we get this game, this amazing game that we can all play now and get inspired by and things like that. So, so we are big on having our assessment system actually be effective, because the whole point of assessing where somebody is at is just to know how much more support do they need. How do we get in there and and give them what they're looking for or needing to get to where they need to go. That's the point. Not to highlight.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we're not trying to highlight their intelligence or not. We're just saying, well, what do we need to do? If they're in the spot where they don't need anything, great. We don't need to do anything. They're good. If they need a little bit, great. We know that we need to get in some supports. We need to add in, we've got a huge, long resource library of things that we can do for kids when they need stuff,
That's brilliant. So what I'm hearing is that you're demystifying education, not only demystifying education, but you're demystifying assessment. So children are not scared of assessment. I always tell, like when I'm in the classroom or working with young adults, I say, okay, you went and you learned how to drive a car. So the assessment that you went to take for your car, your driver's license, was basically to see if you could drive.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with any assessment. Are you able to do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
like, can you do this without anybody over your shoulder pressing on the brakes for you? That's a really good example of just like, what is the point? We're just trying to get it to where, can they drive by themselves? Can we trust them out there driving alongside of us on the roads?
Yes. And also, are you confident enough? Have you mastered your skill enough to teach somebody else? I always use that as a powerful, can you teach somebody else? Because even in teaching somebody else, you are learning.
For sure. It's a great learning tool, whether you end up becoming a teacher or not. It helps you organize your thoughts and your steps and all of that, and it gets that out. I always say that, our biggest point of what we're doing with the kiddos is we're teaching them how to communicate and calculate. That's it, in an effective way. Communicate. That's what everything comes back down to. Whatever categories, whatever subjects that we have, it falls into one or the other or both,
Mm,
and
that's
that's what,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. And also another thing I like about Woodson Branch Nature School is that you have cross-curricular, cross-grade
Yeah.
collaboration. Children from kindergarten to eighth grade are mingling together, coming up with that. For me, is based on real life,
Hmm.
right? That's how we as communities should be behaving, like a clan, more like a clan, where
Yeah.
everybody's supporting each other. So, Debbie, you and I, we have proved this that we can speak for hours, but of course, at some point, we're gonna have
I
to
forgot to
round
watch
it.
the time and everything.
So here's my last question. What
Mhm.
lessons have you learned that you believe will be of value of others, and what would they be? So what lessons have you learned that you believe will be of value of others, and what would those lessons and tips and whatever you want to share uh, with other educators and institutional leaders, basically?
Well, uh, many, there's so many different lessons that I have learned along the way. And I will say that the greatest lesson for me is to mind my own energy. I'm the only one who can do that. I think that that's a lesson for us all out there, is that our energy, it affects other people.
Mm,
And yeah, and I tend, I want, I say that that is my real work, is just being able to have my own mindfulness practices. That's not just, checking boxes. It's the real deal. And I put a lot of energy now into taking care of my heart and my nerves and things like that, because living an extraordinary life, there's a lot of stress all around me all the time, and chaos and things like that. So I feel it's really important to know how to be the calm of the storm, and find the center of it. And so I'm always on a continual path to to find support for that. And there's so much out there right now. There's just so much amazing support for, if you want to have a spiritual practice of any sort, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. But I found that I just keep on seeking and finding more and more. It's a fun rabbit hole. And I'll go back to people I used to listen to and read about, and then I will spin off of that, and then I'll come back to them again at other times. But it's one of those things that I feel like is my great lesson, is to stay committed to that, and rest tends to fall into place, and the people sense this energy and they come this way, and so I get the good energy people finding their way to this project, because I don't plan for it to stop here. I really would love to be able to help other communities, and other people that have little pockets of good energy, put together schools, that can work for the children in their area, that are nature based and such. So yeah, I think I need to stay centered and ready to rock. That's my main lesson. Keep that.
mhm.
Don't get
Yes,
bogged down. Don't get swept up. Don't give up.
don't give up. Yes, like Stephen Hawking said, giving up is never an option,
Yeah, never.
right? And that reflective practice is so important. I mean,
Yeah.
my time in America, you won't believe it's 13 years since I returned from America. And in my
Mm,
time, 11 years there, I learned reflective practice. It's such a powerful element of education. We don't reflect on what we are doing. Leaders don't reflect on the effectiveness or of their organizations.
yeah.
We all believe that what we're doing is right, when in the meanwhile, the data is not showing that. The data, children's behavior in school, all the red flags are up, but
Yeah.
we don't want to actually look or even want to attempt looking at that for whatever reason, whether it's bureaucracy, whether it is We don't want to fail at what we're doing, but education at the moment can do with a lot of innovation. In fact, redesigning, rethinking education, maybe breaking it down to the foundational level and only picking those things that are really effective and building education from the beginning. I
Oh,
mean, that for me is the edge.
if there
So,
is a time to do it, it is now. I mean, like you say, our data is not supporting the outcomes are not there, and so if there ever was a time, this is the time to do it. People are their minds are
mhm,
wide open after COVID, and are like saying, hey, we cannot go back to what it was. We have to do better.
mhm.
But this is a perfect time to break it down and build it back up again. I'm absolutely committed to that for the however long it takes. So
Yes. And you know what, Debbie? I think that's why I've come up with this podcast, The Edge, because I think we are teetering on the edge in many aspects in our lives. And
yes,
at the edge, you can either fall or you can fly.
I prefer to fly, sister. Let's fly
Yes,
off that edge. I
yes.
love it. I love it. I would love to hold your hand and fly off that edge with you. This is a great idea. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast, and I look forward to inviting you to my podcast next.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. And I think we're going to be getting some brilliant people on the show.
Mhm.
And I think we need to start that conversation in a candid way about where do we take education and learning, because education can be a very oppressive term.
Yeah,
Learning, that experiential learning, is where that dynamic the dynamicness, if you might call it,
yeah,
appears, right? And
yeah,
children taking charge of for themselves. And within a technology world where we are handing them these cell phones and digital devices, but we want to keep that control, we need
yeah,
to find a middle ground where we can actually start this conversation with children
yeah.
and get them on board to be the masters of their own fate.
Absolutely.
And and
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you're mastering their own self, which is the main goal, that makes them ready to help get in here and solve some problems in the world. Like that's how you grow leaders, leaders that can actually handle taking this mess and organizing it in a much more balanced, compassionate, inclusive, productive life,
Hmm.
life on this
Yes,
planet. It is the future, it is the
yes.
future for us. So,
It is a future, and it's time to breed these young leaders because we don't have leaders who can take the lead from the veterans.
right.
So I think this is great. So thank you, Debbie. We didn't explore half the things that we wanted to, so which means you'll have to come back. We're going to have a part two to this.
Sounds great.
Um, yeah. So
All
thank you
right.
once again. How can people get hold of you if they want
Okay.
to get hold of you with
Yeah,
some
they
branch
could
nature?
follow us on Facebook because that's a quick and easy way to document our projects. They are it's the Woodson Branch Nature School. Look us up on Facebook. Also, we have a website that's got a lot of really good information that'll give you an idea of how we do some of these things. Also, I'm going to start my podcast. Will be coming up in the fall. I'm going to follow the school year for the 24-25 school year, and it will be called The Happiest Hour, based on a concept of happy hour with teachers. I love getting together with my teachers on Fridays and we just blubbering over all the cool things that happened and the good projects and things like that. So my podcast is going to highlight one or more of the cool projects that happened on campus, which they're happening at a millions all the time. But I'm going to highlight one and I'm going to interview that teacher and give them the opportunity to talk a little bit about their process and their design and how they did it and what all happened. And then also add in some community visitors and experts in the field that will recognize exactly why that was such an effective thing, based on research and theories of effective education. And from there, we're going to take it down to how could you get that at home or in another kind of a classroom or even in public school? How could you get that element in there? And so it'll have some tips and stuff too. I'm looking forward to doing that one. So I think that'll be a fun one to get to know us better and follow along. Yeah. Other than
So
that,
Facebook, social media, basically, you've got a website.
yeah.
Can you give us your website quickly?
Yes, it is MadisonCCLC.org. Or you can just put in
CCLC.
Woodson Branch Nature School on Google and